Some cities are built on industry, others on power. But New Orleans? New Orleans was built on rhythm, on legend, on celebration. It's a city that moves to its own beat, where history and myth blur together, where the past is never too far away, and where every street feels like a stage. But beyond the music, beyond the food, beyond the festivals, there's something deeper, something you can't quite put into words. This is the story behind New Orleans. New Orleans began as an outpost in a swamp, claimed by the French, shaped by the Spanish, and eventually passed to America. But even under new rule, it never lost its old world soul. Unlike other cities, New Orleans didn't just grow, it absorbed. It took pieces of every culture that passed through, French, Spanish, African, Caribbean, and created something entirely its own. That's why the streets here don't just hold history, they feel it. You don't just visit New Orleans, you step into a city that has been alive for centuries, still whispering its stories in the rustling oaks and the creak of wooden shutters. And that heartbeat, that pulse running through the city, it's jazz. New Orleans didn't just play jazz, it created it. In the back rooms of Storyville, on the corners of Basin Street, musicians like Louis Armstrong and Jelly Roll Morton took rhythm and made it something new, something alive. Even now, the music never stops. Walk down Frenchmen Street on any given night and you'll hear it. Brass bands spilling onto sidewalks, old jazz clubs packed with people dancing like time doesn't exist. In New Orleans, music isn't background noise, it's a way of life. But New Orleans isn't just music and celebration. It's a city of mystery, of shadows, of stories whispered in candle-lit rooms. Voodoo arrived here in the 1700s, carried by enslaved people from West Africa. But over time, it blended with Catholic traditions, creating something entirely unique. Marie Laveau, the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans, was known for her power, respected, feared, and still, even now, honored by those who visit her tomb, leaving offerings and marking X's on the stone in hopes she'll grant their wishes. And then, of course, there are the ghosts. Because in a city this old with a past this complicated, some stories refuse to rest. The LaLaurie Mansion, one of the most infamous in the country, stands as a reminder that not all of New Orleans' history is light. Some of it lingers in the quiet corners, waiting. If you've heard of New Orleans, you've probably heard of Mardi Gras. But what is Mardi Gras really? At its core, Mardi Gras, French for Fat Tuesday, is the final day before Lent, a season of fasting in the Christian tradition. It started as a day to eat, drink, and celebrate before 40 days of restraint. But in New Orleans, it became something much bigger. Today, Mardi Gras is a season, not just a single day. It lasts for weeks. Parades, costumes, music, and massive floats designed by secretive crews, some of which have been around for over a century. The beads, the masks, the colors of purple, green, and gold, they all have meaning, justice, faith, and power. And behind all the celebration, there's deep tradition, a connection to the city's past, passed down through generations. And when the parades end and the streets empty, you realize Mardi Gras isn't just one wild night. It's the heartbeat of New Orleans, the way the city comes together to celebrate life itself. If there's one thing New Orleans takes as seriously as its music, it's food. Beignets, light, crisp, drowning in powdered sugar, are a must. But the city's real flavors come in bowls of gumbo, plates of jambalaya, and po' boys stuffed with crispy fried shrimp. Each dish tells a story of the cultures that shape this place. And the best meals? They aren't found in fancy restaurants. They're served in tucked-away diners, mom-and-pop spots, places where the recipes have been passed down for generations. New Orleans isn't just a place, it's an experience. a rhythm, a feeling that stays with you long after you leave. So, what's your favorite memory of NOLA? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you've never been, maybe it's time to go. Until next time, let the good times roll.